Calgary is known as one of the most livable cities in the entire world, and for the most part, life is pretty good here. It's a growing city, very beautiful scenery, friendly people, healthy economy, and it's a great family-friendly city. And for the most part, life is great here, but there are some things that I don't like about living in Calgary, and in this video, I'll let you know what they are. So if you are thinking about making a move to this city, this is a go-to video. Let's get into it. And first things first, I have a disclaimer for you because I know I'll get tons of comments. Leave if you don't like it. So I will say I am happy here in Calgary. It is a great place to live. This video is just meant to highlight some of the negative aspects of living in Calgary because there are tons of people who are calling me looking to relocate to the city. And I think this video will be helpful. So the first point here, and this is a big one for me, is just how dry it is in Calgary. This can be good or bad, but for the most part, it gets kind of irritating, especially in the winter time. When it's this dry, which it typically is, your skin will crack, you'll get nosebleeds, your nose will get all crusty, and it's actually so dry here that when I floss my teeth, my fingers can split open. So if you're coming from somewhere that's warm and humid, you'll be in for a bit of a shock. It's super dry here, super sunny. Don't forget your sunglasses or your chapstick when you come to Calgary, because it can be blindingly sunny and just super dry. And the next point, and this is not Calgary specific, this is a countrywide problem. I find the last few years, ever since COVID, there's just a lot more homeless and drug addicted people in Calgary, especially in areas like the Beltline or the East Village, areas like that. It's just a lot more noticeable than it used to be. Like, we are growing quite fast in Calgary. That could be one of the reasons. It's just more expensive than it used to be. But it's a major issue now. I just find there's a lot more of that than there used to be. It's still a very safe city. I just find it's a lot more noticeable than how it was in the past. And the next point is the Green Line. So our LRT system is called the C train, and the Green Line is the proposed leg of it that will start in the downtown and it will go to the deep southeast part of the city. And in the future, it will go from the downtown to the north central part of the city. But we can't seem to figure this out. It keeps changing every single year. I can recall when I first started in real estate in 2012, there was a council that came to our office and we were talking about the Green Line back then, and it still hasn't been built yet. So I don't know why we can't figure this out. Transportation is a bit of a concern in Calgary. The city does spread a huge distance, and our LRT is not terrible. It just could be improved, and I don't know, for some reason we just can't get our act together when it comes to the LRT Green Line. And further to that point, how come we can't get the C train going directly to the airport? It doesn't make any sense to me. I think any major city has some kind of transit directly from the airport to the downtown core. And in Calgary, it would be so easy. The northeast part of the city where the airport is very flat. It's just bald prairie, and it could be easily done. And I don't know why we haven't done it. There seems to be no direction or interest in doing it, and I think that's a huge mistake. And that really kind of annoys me about our city council. Next point is condo fees. Now, condo fees in Calgary are super expensive lately. For example, I could be selling a condo like 500 square feet, one bed, one bath, and the monthly condo fee could be like $600 per month. It doesn't make much sense. And I think one of the major reasons for this is our insurance costs have really gone up in Alberta. And so not just home insurance costs, but also car insurance. So I have a good driving record, no accidents or anything, but my car insurance goes up like every year. So it's quite expensive here, both home insurance and car insurance. Next point is rent, which I think is actually fairly expensive in Calgary. We added a huge amount of people into the city the last few years, and because of that, there was not much vacancy and the landlords were charging more for rent. This is actually changing at the moment though. We're having a lot more purpose-built rentals come to the market. We're seeing a lot more condo developments come too, and there's a lot more supply than there used to be. So the rents should be coming down in Calgary, but they are still fairly expensive. Not as bad as places like Toronto or Vancouver, but not too far behind actually. So it can be expensive to rent here. And the next point, and this is probably the biggest gripe that people have with Calgary, it gets super cold here, miserably cold. So as of right now, if you look at the window, it looks super nice and sunny, but it's at about minus 22 Celsius out there. And it was close to minus 30 the past few days here. So it gets miserably cold here. But what I'll say, it gets cold everywhere in Canada, so this is not a huge deal for me. If you go to Winnipeg, it's even colder. If you go to Edmonton, same idea. It gets very cold and humid in the wintertime in southern Ontario. So wherever you go, basically, it's going to be cold. If you go to Vancouver or Vancouver Island, sure, it's a lot warmer, but it's dark and it's super wet. So there's nowhere that's that pleasant in Canada in the wintertime. And what I'll say about this, it's not the cold that bothers me about Calgary. It's the off season. It's like late October, November, early December, where it's not quite winter and it's not quite fall. It's just kind of in between. So we have like an extended winter. And the same thing with like April, March, April, May. It can still be kind of wintry here, even though it's kind of the shoulder season. So we have a longer winter and a shorter summer, and that kind of makes me angry. When I see other cities in Canada have nicer weather in like April or October, I get a bit jealous about that. So that's one thing I really hate about Calgary, is that we just have a longer winter and a shorter summer. And during this kind of off season, it gets a kind of a gross brown color here. It's a very semi-arid climate. And if you come here in November, there's not really any snow yet for the most part, and it's not green. It's just like an ugly brown color. Same thing with like April and early May. Next up is car dependency. So Calgary covers a huge geographic area. It's a big city in terms of land area. And to get around, the transit doesn't go everywhere. So a car is a must for most people. If you don't want to have a car, I would recommend living in the inner city close to a C-train stop. That would make life a little bit easier. But it can be a bit annoying sometimes how large the city is in terms of land area and being dependent on a car. Next point is politics. Now, depending on where you fit on the political spectrum, you might love Alberta politics, you might hate them. And I will say that of all the Canadian provinces, Alberta is definitely the most conservative. So you might love that, you might hate it. But what I will say, Calgary is definitely more balanced than what you might think. I think everyone can get along here in Calgary. And the next point, being dependent on oil and gas. This is definitely one of the downfalls of living in Calgary, because we're super dependent on it. And this is making the news right now, actually. The price of oil is down at the moment. And when it is down, there's less money for the government, and we run deficits. And if the price gets too low, then you'll see companies lay off people, people get fired. So it can definitely affect the economy in Calgary, and we are super dependent on it. I think the last like 5-10 years, we've actually diversified quite a bit, but we are still dependent on it, and it can be a bit annoying at times, being at the mercy of the economy. And if I go back to the weather, I should mention that our weather is very unpredictable and very harsh. So right now it's about -20, the last few days even colder. But the last month, I would say, it's been super mild here. So it's just very unpredictable. Like 2 weeks ago, it was about plus 18 degrees Celsius. And that was like the end of January, which is very unusual. So one day could be plus 15, the next day could be minus 30. So it's very unpredictable and super harsh as well. Like just very hard on your skin when it's this cold. And in the summertime, it's also very harsh. I find because we're about 1 kilometer above sea level, the air is thinner and you can get really sunburnt in Calgary compared to being at sea level. So you have to be careful there. It can be super nice here, plus 30. Then the next day could be forest fire smoke so bad that you can't see the horizon. And it can also get super windy here. So our weather is just harsh all around, and it's also very unpredictable. But it can also be super pleasant. So it's just a bit of a surprise every day in Calgary. And because of that, we have a short golf season. And I love to golf. And that's one thing that I despise about living in Calgary is our golf season is so short. So basically our season is like May until like September. So not very long. If you are, we have lots of great golf courses here, but again, just a very short season. One thing that I don't like about living in Calgary is we are hopelessly landlocked and there's not many large bodies of water in and around Calgary. There's a few lake communities, more so in the south part of Calgary, but those are private. To use their lakes, you have to live in those communities. So there's not many bodies of water here, not like out east where you have the cottage country. We're not really blessed with that. It's kind of like mountains and foothills and prairies here. So not many bodies of water. And I do dislike that. I like being on the water. And that's one gripe that many people do have while living here is there's just not many beaches or bodies of water. Like the boating culture is not like a huge thing here. Now, we do have 2 rivers and 1 creek that run through Calgary. So we have the Bow River, that's the big river. We have the Elbow, it's a bit smaller. And then we have Nose Creek, which is not that big at all. And they all flow through the city. But my main gripe with these rivers is that we don't actually utilize them all that well. Like you're not going to find bars and restaurants directly on the river. And so it's not like Europe. If you go to like London, like every inch of the Thames has like stuff on it. That's not the case in Calgary. And I find like our downtown is kind of dull at times, but I think if we actually had like bars and restaurants over the river in the downtown core area, it would be a lot more lively. So that's my suggestion, but for whatever reason, we don't really do too much with our riverfront in Calgary. It's basically just scenery and nature. And on the topic of downtown, that's one of the gripes about Calgary. The downtown is not all that lively compared to other major cities like Vancouver and Toronto. It's more of like a 9 to 5. People work there, then they go home to the suburbs afterwards. So it can be a bit of a ghost town after hours. So I think we need to improve it somehow. And one way that I think we could do it is my suggestion with having more infrastructure on the rivers, make it more lively. That could help, but I don't really see that happening anytime soon. Next point, Calgary has added a huge amount of people the last few years, so our schools are at capacity. Basically, my entire life, I've heard that our schools are at capacity. I think for growing cities, this is always a problem. Calgary is no different. I've heard it's very difficult to get a doctor at this point in time. Again, we need to hire more of them because we just have a bigger population in Alberta. We've grown huge numbers the last, like say, 3 to 5 years. And I'm finding the roads are actually way busier than they used to be. Like if you take Glenmore Trail, which runs east-west throughout Calgary, it seems like it's 3 to 4 times busier than it was before COVID. So we have added a lot of people to the city, and the infrastructure needs to be improved. So a lot of potholes all over the place, and our major arteries are kind of getting bogged down. So I think we need to improve that. But this is a problem for any major city in the world. Next point, we have allergies. Now, I've already mentioned that it can get pretty windy here in Calgary, and it's also very dry. And if you factor that in with hay fever and pollen, the allergies can get pretty severe in this city. And for me, it comes like mid-April to mid-May is when I have the worst allergies, and it really does affect me. So it's one thing to be mindful of. Now, allergies, they do affect everyone a bit differently, so I can't say it's like it affects everyone this way, but for me, it's always mid-April to mid-May is like the worst time. Next point, snow plowing and potholes. I swear the past few years, for whatever reason, they're just more potholes and they don't seem to get fixed fast enough. So that's like a minor nuisance. And I've also noticed the past few years too that the snow plows, they don't seem to come like right away like they used to. And there's less gravel on the road. Maybe our budget was slashed when it comes to clearing the snow. I just find it's a lot worse than it used to be. And I don't know what the reason for this is, but I think we can improve our snow plowing efforts and fixing the potholes. And the last point, and this one really bothers me, every major intersection in Calgary has the speed camera. So a speed camera, red light camera, and the yellow light camera. Now I get it, if you're blowing a red light, you should be ticketed. But sometimes when you're going through a yellow light, the best course of action is to go through it versus slamming on your brakes. And I've been ticketed so many times by doing that. And I find it's more of a money grab than a safety issue. And they're all over the city. Basically every major intersection has these cameras, and it drives me nuts. I think it's just kind of revenue generation versus safety.